Hi, my name is Noel Davis with World Composting, and today we're going to actually look at the African Nightcrawler bin. So I know I did two videos where I added the heating mat, and then I added a temperature gauge for that heating mat because it was turning on and getting a little too hot. And you know, now it seems to be doing a little better. I have had to play around with that heating element a little bit. At first I had it in a bin where it was not getting the temperatures as accurately as maybe the other one. So one bin was heating up a lot, the other bin was kind of cool. So I kind of shuffled the bins around a little bit, and it looks like some of the bins are a little bit better at conducting that heat into the bedding, and the other one is maybe not. So I'd rather that one be a little bit cold and the other ones not get overly hot. So I've had to adjust that heat. I originally had it set, I think, to 82, and I've lowered it down to, I think, 78 now. And that seems to be about that sweet spot. It does tend to bounce around a little bit, but you know, that's okay. But it's at least more in that range of a flatter range than it was before, which was you know, it was bouncing around a lot with the timer that I was using. So with that, let's take a look. Let's see how these bins are doing, and hopefully these worms are really starting to perk up a little bit with that extra heat since it was getting a little bit cool in there. And then we're going to probably give them a feeding, and we're going to use some frozen food since it's going to really quickly heat up anyhow. We've got that probe in there, and it's just going to, you know, make the temperatures rise, and it'll get rid of that frozen food pretty quickly. But that way they have an option. They can move towards it or away from it until it's, you know, reached that optimal temperature for them. So let's take a look at these systems and see how they're doing. All right, here we go. You can see our last update right here. I think red means that we did feed, and you can see that it's 12/22. Today is January 12th, 2022. So it's been, what, 21 days since our last update here. You can see already it's a little bit dry over here. I have added water to this, believe it or not, but I think it's evaporating very quickly because of that heat. And actually you can see the exact line where this is. Let me just shake this off a little bit. This right here. No worms on here, but this looks decent. A little bit of moisture, not too much. But put that off to the side for now. And let's dig around in here. We can already see one worm on the top over here. Actually, let me push this down a little bit just that way you don't have quite the blinding light right there in front. And our last feeding was on this side, it looks like. So let's just look over here real quick. I'm not seeing anything over here. Oh, some worms. This guy's a smaller one. Still, I want to say that's a juvenile, but maybe not. It's almost full size. Another full-size worm over here. This bin was the one that was doing fairly well. So this one did have some larger worms in it. You can see the nice coloring on this one. Nice big worm right there. So these are prolific at eating cardboard, and it looks like they are starting to move through this cardboard a little bit faster if it would just stay moist enough for them. I know I'm just kind of flipping all this over. Taking a look. I must have had some citrus in here because I can smell a little bit of citrus, it seems like. Overall, though, not much on that side. So we had some paper over there. Let's just look in the center section here. More worms. Some smaller ones in here. These look like these are not quite adults. So that juvenile size. Doesn't look like they're fully developed yet. It's hard to tell. But we've got a lot of those in here. That's a good sign. Because that's really what I want to see right now. I want to see a lot of juveniles in here. And that way we can kind of expand this system eventually and take out some of these adults. We've got a little bit of food left over right here. This looks like the wrapper of something. I don't know what that is from. But it has some little... looks like pot worms on it. I'm just seeing how close I can get and still focus. But it looks like it's got some pot worms on there. It looks like some clear worms. Those are typically pot worms. I'm not seeing anything else on this, but looks like that's all that's on there is some pot worms. So, dig right where you are. Over here, it's some great looking soil or castings. Some more worms in there. Not as many as I thought. I thought there'd be more in here this time, but there are definitely some juveniles. And they all look pretty healthy. A little bit sluggish. Here's a little pile right here, and again, some more juveniles. Great looking castings in here. I think we're done adding cardboard for a little bit. We'll kind of give them a break from the cardboard, but we are going to add some food in here and see how quickly they can move through it. Another Another juvenile right there. Some larger ones in here as well. Again, though, a little bit dry, especially in this corner over here. Some more worms. So overall, not too bad. We didn't sort this time. I have done that in the past. Let's just see if there's any over here. There's a couple in this dry section over here. Some of the larger worms right there. So overall, system looks pretty decent. But I think what we need in here, I think, is a good feeding. I think they need some actual food. And then I'm going to put this section in the back. I typically have the temperature probe near the front, and this bin actually is where I actually run it normally. I had to move it to one of my other systems that has African Nightcrawlers, the hamster system, temporarily. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to add some food. And I do have a large container of food here that is frozen. I know these guys are not as big a fan of cold temperatures. In fact, it could be deadly for them, but we are going to still add frozen food in here for them. So we're going to add some mango. Actually, lots of mango this time, I think. We have a lot of mango here to go through. And we'll just add the peels, and I won't add the seeds in. The seeds are a little bit tougher to break down, I feel. And we've got this banana right there. So I think that's a decent sized feeding for them. I don't want to add too much. There's not a ton of worms in here. Maybe a little bit more mango. There we go. I just want to give them something to chew on. That's let's just make sure we're not trying not to sprinkle any worms on there on the top. They should run pretty quick. I just want to give them something to kind of feast on a little bit over here instead of just the cardboard. And hopefully this will get them kind of going a little bit better. All right, so we're going to bury this down in there now. Not too worried about, I've said this before, but I know a lot of people are hammering me because I put in frozen food and I really should thaw it. And yeah, I probably should. It would go a lot better if I did. But I'm not in a position where I really feel like taking the time. And this is also supposed to be something that's easy for you to do, not more and more steps. So if you want to take the time to thaw out your food, by all means, please do. We are going to add some water to this because it is drying out a little bit on the sides. And I've got my water with the BTI mix over here. And I did not add any, by the way, crushed eggshells this time. I probably could have, but I did not. I think that we've had quite a bit in there, so I think we're okay. Gonna add a little bit more water over here to this corner. This water, by the way, is a little bit chilly, but not too bad. Should be probably in the 60s since it's sitting on the floor here. So there we go. We got some water in there, and I think this one's ready to go back in once we get the cover on. We'll stick this back in the area under that heat lamp. And with that, what we're going to do now is we're going to add on our little label. So I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to put on our label right over here on top of this one. Right like that. 1/12/22. So there's our 21-day update on this bin. And let's go check out the other bin and see how that one's doing. Alright, so here is bin number 2 for this, or my second A and C bin. It's not bin number 2, but my second A and C bin here. This was started on 12/22/21, so that was 21 days ago. I put today's date up here, which is 1/12/2022, just as I did on the other one. If we do a feeding, which I think we will, put a little dash on here just to mark it. But let's just take a look inside here. As you can see, there's lots of humidity. So I've kept these bins a little bit warmer, and you can see that this time, because whenever I've checked this in the past, there was no humidity, there was no moisture buildup on this lid. I do like to have some moisture in these bins. This probably won't need any water added, as there is enough moisture. And let's just, actually, there's one thing I didn't do. Let's just do a temperature check in here. And you can see it's dropped in temperature already, but it's still in the 70s. Compared to what it was before, which was 68 and below. I think this is a good setup right there. It's in the 70s. This bin does insulate a little bit better, I feel, than the other bins do. So this one doesn't heat up quite as much, which is kind of a good thing, but also it means that the bins are not equal. So I can't remember. I don't think we fed this system last time because there was not a lot of worms in here. So we're going to check right now. Let's just kind of go through and actually, you know what? Let's grab a container. Let's put some of these worms in a container. Last time I think there was only like, a dozen or something like that. As we dumped, I should say we made this container by dumping worms and castings into this system. So kind of split the other system in half in the process. Material here on the bottom looks decent. Let's just see here. We got some paper in here. Saw another worm right there. You can see nice big worms in here though. So we're getting a nice little mixture already. I don't think there's going to be too many in the cardboard up top. I think they're going to be more towards the bottom, but could be wrong there. You know, it just depends on what they like, and especially if they like it a little bit warmer, they might be towards that bottom section. And I do want to say, though, the worms can go from system to system, and I've seen them crawling up the sides, and it looks like getting ready to jump ship, especially to get into that hamster bin system that's right next door. So they can do that, which I do like. I like the fact that, you know, if something's off in this one, they can jump into another one real quick, or if something's off in the hamster bin one, they could have jumped over in this one if that one's getting too warm, which at one point it looked like it. There's another worm. I know I'm missing some in here. I'm trying to go through a little bit quick. I don't want to make this a really, really long video by digging out every single worm that I have in here, but I'd like to get a few out of here just to see what we've got. I think we're going to do a smaller feeding in this system because we're not finding nearly as many as I first found when I first opened it up. Lots of cardboard in this system, but that's to be expected because this system was primarily cardboard to start with. The idea was to add in, I want to say that these might be cocoons on here. I don't know, it's hard to tell. There's some small bits of like white, but it doesn't look like crushed eggshell. And it could be where, you know, especially if the system is ripe for worms to expand their herd, there's plenty of room. They might be laying tons of cocoons in here. Well, not many worms though. That's a little bit worrisome to me. I was hoping to find a lot more in here than this. As I said, I am heading through this pretty quickly, and they could be hiding pretty well in this cardboard. There we go. They can dig through this stuff pretty quick. But, oh, hold on, there's one here down here. Oh. Disappeared over to this corner. That's a nice looking long one. This one's a thicker one. As I said, I know I'm not getting all of them, but I was just hoping to get a few just so we can see how this is doing. This side over here feels a little bit more dry than the other side did. Oh, there's another couple of them. A whole bunch over here in this corner. There we go. We found the load of them. Up, and we've got food left over here, and as you can see, there's potworms on this food. Now, somebody's asked me before about potworms. Potworms are perfectly fine in a system. Usually it's a sign of an imbalance. You can see them just all over this right here. I don't know if it's still focusing or not, but hopefully I can hold it still. You can see that they're all over these coffee grounds. I almost always find them on coffee grounds, almost always. I think that they really like coffee grounds because they're a little bit acidic typically. They take a little bit longer, but they help kind of get rid of that acidity, I feel, and then you get tons of worms coming and finishing it up. So, there we go. Up, even more over here. Up, and here's another one. I think that these are mating right there. There's a close-up right there. You can see that one's inside the other, it looks like a little bit. So, a lot of them over on this side where the food was. I forgot that I fed this side, so that'll explain why they're over here though. Some more coffee grounds right here. And another worm over here as well, a couple worms. So there we go. We actually pulled out a few more than I thought. I got a little bit worried there towards the beginning, but another worm. But they definitely are flocking towards this food over here, which is a good sign. I'm glad that they are going towards food and not just staying over in the other sections, but there we go. We can close this up a little bit. I don't think this is going to need moisture. Pull away some of this bedding material. We did find a good amount of worms. You know, it would have been nice to find a few more in here, but you know, there's a good amount in here. There's probably a good 20. As you can see right there, there's our worm ball of all the worms that we have. So we're going to put those guys back on top. We're going to dig over here. We're going to add just a little bit more food. We're not going to add a whole lot. Oh, there's another worm down there. Let me move him out of the way. Since we're going to add, as we did last time, frozen food. Put that back down over here. Let's grab that same container. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm not going to put any pits in here. I don't really want to put pits. Now, I'm going to try something a little bit different here. I've got some pineapple. Now, somebody else was telling me that when they put pineapple in their system, the worms their African Nightcrawlers go nuts over it. So we're going to put some pineapple and some mango. Just a little bit. I think that's good enough for now. And I think in this system we will add a little bit of crushed eggshell because we are adding in that pineapple. There might be a little bit of acidity on it, a little bit more than I wanted to, but that's okay. Just to kind of make sure that it's okay in there. I don't think we need to add any moisture. There's plenty of moisture in here. So we're just going to bury this in here. Let those worms find it themselves. And that's really our update for this system. I feel that this system is doing pretty well. I do want to do one more thing. There's one thing that I've been really bad about, and as you can tell since I found the food over in here and had no idea it was there, is I am going to put a piece of tape just on the side where there's food. So what I'm going to do here, let me move this up so you can see. I'm just going to put a piece of tape over the edge like this, and that way we know where we fed last time. And that way we're familiar with what's in the system, and we know that this is there. So that's it for this one. Let's put this cover back on. As you know, it's dripping water off the top here. And we need to add our little dash mark to show that we fed. So we're keeping I'm making some adjustments here in my tracking system to make it just a little bit better every single time that I do one of these systems. So I've added in this tape on the side, which I used to not do, to keep track of all the feedings. Creation date in the middle, and now I'm adding dashes when I feed, just in case there's no food. And now we've got the tape on the side here to kind of mark where we fed, so we can kind of alternate sides, or do a horizontal migration, so to feed here, then here, then here, and just kind of keep this system flowing. So that's it for my update. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know, and thanks again.